Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, Trust My Levels. I am here with a February 1st. Let's talk about options with Trust My Levels University. So, of course, this is hosted by your boy, Trust My Levels. If you have any questions, you can hit me up at info@trustmylevels.com or Discord or Instagram, whatever you need, at Trust My Levels. So, I really want to talk about options because I see a lot of discords, a lot of people that are saying that they're struggling. Gotten a couple messages where people are struggling in the options world at the moment. There's a lot of up and down, there's a lot of gaps, there's a lot of movement that's going on, and a lot of people are relying on call outs. Now, I'm not knocking anybody that wants to rely on a call out. If you don't want to learn, this message is not for you. But I'm here to help those that actually want to learn how to effectively find and trade different options in different sectors and just not fall for a random um, piece of misinformation that you might just say, oh, I'm just going to take a play because this person said take it and they got in at $1 and I get in at $1.70. They made 300%, and then it dropped, and then then you lost money. So I just want you to be able to analyze quickly a particular play that someone is getting into to see how it aligns with what you want to do. Because I never tell anybody to blindly follow a play that someone else tells you, because first they already got the best entry, and then they had to type. So depending on what happened, it could have moved. So let's get into this a little bit and let's talk about options. So here, the first thing is my disclaimer. I want to make sure that you get a chance to read this. So pause the video, do whatever you need to do so that you can understand what's going on in this. And then I'm just going to change the screen here. All right. So let me save this real quick just to make sure that this is saved. All right. So the one thing that I really want to talk about, I'm going to start on the higher time frames. The one thing I really want to talk about is, which one is this one? The daily. There we go. The thing that I really want to talk about is how to analyze a play that you see before jumping into a call out. Okay. I know back in what, 2019, 2020, when we were part of all those groups that, did a whole lot of call outs, and everybody just followed those call outs blindly. You made some money, of course. And then the days or some times that the market turned, I remember after Zoom earnings, everybody started losing a bunch of money because the market did a downturn that October, from August to October. So I want you to be able to come in here and quickly start to analyze uh, stocks before you jump into a call out. So the first thing that I really want to start with, before I start talking about anything, I just need to explain the numbers that you see on these charts. So I'm going to bring this chart up real quick, maximize sale. So I'm going to give you the four basic things that can happen to a candle. There's nothing else that can happen to a candle. The candle cannot do anything other than these four scenarios. Okay. So we're going with a one candle, a two candle, and a three candle. So you got a one candle, a two candle, and a three candle. So this is why you see the ones here and you see a three here. So we look at the candle previous to this candle. So I'm going to draw my price line here and a price line here. So this one is telling you that we did not take out the high or the low of that previous candle. Okay. So we did not take out the high or the low of the previous candle. All right. So that's why you have that one there. So that is a one candle. All right. So we got the one, two, and three, one, check. Now we're going with the two candle. So a two candle, let's remove that and let's remove this. So anything that's on here that does not have a number on it is a two, okay? And you have two possibilities for the twos. So with the two, let's move this out the way. All right, so with the two, we look at the previous candle. And then I draw that here, draw this here for visualization. And you can see that it only takes out the high of that previous candle. Okay, so it took out the high of that previous candle. So that means it's going up. So I'm going to say that's a 2 up. Now, if it went to the other side of that, I would then say that that is a, giving you a pause to figure that one out for yourself. If it's going and taking out the bottom of the candle, that means it's a 2 down. So I'm going to go here. So we take that one here, looking at the previous candle for this one, looking at the previous candle. What did it do? It broke the low of that candle. So this one is a 2 down. So 2 down, 2 down. It broke the low of that. So that's a 2 down. So you got your twos, 2 up, 2 down. So now, just trying to go through this quickly. And now we have this big green candle over here, but also it's following that same type of scenario. Let's see here. So I'm going to go with, okay, I take the top there and I take the bottom there. And what does this candle do? It goes and it takes out the high. It took out the high of this candle. Oops. Took out the high of this candle and the low of that candle. So now that's why we call it a 3. So the 3 is checked. It takes out both sides of the candle. So now, if you don't understand that, there's an hour-long video on YouTube that explains the 1s, 2s, and 3s so that you can better understand what we're trying to do here, because nothing else can happen to a candle. There's no other scenario that can happen to a candle other than those 4 things I just told you. The inside bar, which was this one, the 2 up that happened here, the 2 down that happened here, and the outside bar, which is a 3 candle that happened here. Nothing else can happen. No matter what anybody tells you, nothing else can happen to a candle. All right. So now that you have that basic information, now we can go back here and let's look at, oh, we have one more thing. I have one more thing to show you here. So let me bring this one up since I already have the gray on it. All right, so hammers and shooters. Okay, so you know what a hammer is potentially. Let's see here. So I have a shooter. So this is called a shooter. So anytime I see a hammer that is inverted at the top of a range, we really want to pay attention to those, because a lot of the times you get that downward movement happening after that. Okay, so you have the shooter. All right, so you keep these in mind, because there's one more that we're looking for. Let's see here. All right, here we go. So that same thing that you saw for the shooter, I'm looking for this here at the bottom of a range, which is called a hammer. Hammer. So I got the hammer and I have a shooter. So I'm looking for these hammers. That one's here, that's here at the bottom of the range. So if I'm watching price come down, price come down, price come down, then I see a hammer and potentially green or red, whatever. I'm looking for those next candles to come in and take this out, take this out, take this out. That's what I'm looking for. If I'm going to the top, let's say we have price going up, price going up, price going up. And then at the top, I have a hammer that is inverted, that is now a shooter. That told me that the sellers took over as the buyers tried to take it up, but then the sellers said, nope, we're coming back down. Same thing here. The sellers tried to take us down, but then the buyers said, nope, we're buying that back up, and let's keep that momentum going up a little bit. Then you get a potential shooter, and then it said the buyers are taking us up, but the sellers said, nope, we're going back down. Let's push that back down. Then you get your same thing over here. You got your hammer right here. The sellers took us down. Buyers said we're going right back up. Push us back up. You got your shooter. So forth and so on. Okay. And this is on a 2-day chart. So this is happening very quickly. All right. So let's go back to our normal chart. So just giving you orientation of what's on the screen so far. The top up here, I have a watch list this is how my screens are usually set up in the morning. So I have that same thing that I was just talking to you about with those 2s, the 3s, the 1s, but it gives me a way to quickly understand what's going on across that particular stock or that sector. We're about to talk about these in a second, about that sector quickly. So this tells me on the hourly, there's a 2 down. So if I come over Where is my hourly? Not on this chart, but I'll start from the beginning here. So we got the yearly. So if I look on the yearly for XLC, let's just move over to XLC. XLC has some things on it. I don't want to talk about any fibs or anything. Actually, I think all of these might have some stuff on it because, well, we'll start here. So XLI. So that's an inside. So that's a one. We just talked about the one candle and exactly what that means. It has not taken out the high or the low of that previous candle. So on that year, it is inside. So we can expect some up and down movement. Then we go over to the quarter. It was two down. Uh-oh. It took out the bottom of this candle. It's just by a little tick, but it took it out. So that's telling us two down. On the monthly chart, it's two down. It also took out the bottom of that candle. The weekly time frame, which is right here, it's a two down, two down. Daily, daily is here. It went two up, but it's failed back into that candle. The hourly, let's change this to the hourly, just so you can see it. Or you might get the gist. So the hourly is two down, hourly is two down, so forth and so on. It goes down to the 30-minute. So this is quickly letting me know what's going on with that particular sector or a stock, depending on what I have in the watch list at that period in time. So now, for those that are playing stocks, so I see a lot of call outs in the semiconductor, like the AMDs, the NVIDIAs, Intel, those type of things. So I want you to pay attention to one thing in particular. So these over here are ETFs, but they track a sector of stocks. Okay. So for instance, let's go through this real quick. So XLY, so that is consumer discretionary funds. Okay. So then we go to healthcare, which is XLV, XLU, our utilities, XLRE, that's your real estate, XLP, that's the that's another consumer staples. Then XLI, XLI is your industrials, and then XLF is your financial sector. Let me see what else do I have up here. XLE, which is energy sector, XLC, which is communication, XLB, which is your materials. Let's see what else we have here. And these are things that you want to be looking at. Emerging markets, don't really care about that. Total stock market, I do care about that. Semiconductors. Now, these two right here, SOX and SMH, are the two that anybody that is trading NVIDIA, Intel, anything that has anything to do with a chip, you need to be watching this so you can understand what is going on in that sector before I decide to take calls or before I decide to take puts. Okay. So let's look at SOX and SMH. Matter of fact, they're going to be the same exact thing. So I'm going to put this back to my daily because that's what we were just looking at. So the first thing I'm coming in here and I'm looking at, I'll just bring these up real quick. So the first thing I'm coming in here and looking at, and I'm saying, if I'm looking at this chart and I want to take puts on AMD or on something, I'm looking at this on a daily and I'm saying, okay, what's happening here? So we have a two up that has failed back into the range of this previous candle, and it's a shooter. So now I'm looking, hey, what happens tomorrow or the next day when we break below 242 for this? I can then go and watch the contents of SMH, which will be the NVIDIAs, which will be the AMDs, which will be the Intels, and see what those stocks are doing. Okay, so I want to look at the sector first, then I want to go and find out what the holdings are in that. Now, if you had TD Ameritrade, you could come in, let's say, for instance, I wanted to come in and go to XLF, which is my financials, and I wanted to come in here and see what are in the financials. So then I have Visa, MasterCard, who is this? PayPal, Fidelity, Global Payments, Corpay, Berkshire, JP Morgan, bank, all the banks, everybody, Citi, Wells Fargo, all of that. I can then come and see all of the ones that are included in the financial sector. If I wanted to come look at the communications, just like I was saying up here, how we were just talking about communications. So the communication sector, I can then see, even though, Google, Meta, these are all still in the communication sector. So if I saw communications going up, I want to look at these stocks and pick one of these stocks. Who's the strongest in that? And let me play that. Okay. So when I'm looking at these, I want to make sure that I am picking the best best one. So semiconductors, let's go back to semiconductors. You have the NVIDIA, you have the AVGO, you have Qualcomm, AMD, TXN, ADI, MU, Intel, NTP, all of these here, LCRX, AMAT, and you've heard about these, but you want to make sure that that sector is going in the direction that you're making that play. If you see someone call out calls and the sector is going in the opposite direction, you have to think to yourself, this might be a play that is temporary. I probably cannot hold this throughout the rest of the day. If I see something for NVIDIA and it's going down and I see someone say, take calls on NVIDIA, I have to think to myself, I need to be looking. If I'm taking this play, I need to look for that 10, 20, 30% and move on with my life. If they're talking about puts, man, I'm looking for those higher returns because NVIDIA is going down. Let's go back to the chart and we go back to SMH. Your sector is pushing down. Sector right here is in a, for the 2 days in a indecision point. It pushed up and then pushed right back down. You had a big drop earlier in the week when DeepSeek was released, that, you know, sent some shock waves throughout the semiconductor uh, sector. So you want to look at these things first. So when I identify things here, so let's go over here real quick. I'm starting at the yearly. I want to see something that has broken up for the year. So I see these three things. So XLF, XLC, and XLK are all two up for the week. They're all two up for the quarter. So if I click on this here, they're two up. Who is this? XLC. So XLC went up. It broke above that candle right there. It gave you a nice push above that candle, and then it came right back inside the range. So now we're at the top of that range for XLC, and that seems like it's an all-time high for the communication sector. So I want to watch out for that. Okay, I want to be watching out. I'm at the top of the range. Do I want to take calls at the top of a range? No, we want to buy calls at the bottom of a range, taking puts at the top of a range. So just for instance, if you came in here and you looked at XLC and you were like, oh, we hit the top of that range, we broke above this candle, gave us a two up, and we started to push back into that candle. Once we start getting to halfway of that candle, I need to be thinking of pushing all the way back down for XLCs. And remember, in the XLC, which was communication, we have these stocks right here. Okay, so these are all the ones that are in XLC. Okay, just want to just make sure that you are understanding how that happens. So let's see here, public. Let's see, look at mine real quick. SPY sectors, SPDR sectors. Here we go. So we got the energies, we got the consumer discretionaries. Of course, NEO is in that one. But anyway, let's go back up here. Going back to these indices. So S&P 500 broken down. All right, so let's say, for instance, I'm looking at this particular sector. Now, that was the higher time frame that we were just looking at. Then I can switch over to those lower time frames. So let's look at NVIDIA. So we know that NVIDIA is in the SMH. We know SMH has a inside bar on the year, has a 3 on the quarter, 3 on the monthly, hourly has a hammer. The daily, I'm sorry, weekly has a hammer. The daily has a shooter that I'm looking for. Where is the daily? So the daily has a shooter. And then we start looking at those hourlies that are 2 down and the inside bar on the 30. So now I'm going to switch over to those lower time frames. All right. And this is how I'll have that set up. So I'll have my, normally I have the 2-minute here, 5-minute here, but I already had this stuff set up. So I have, it's normally go 2-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, and the 4 hour. 4 hour and the daily down here also. So this is what I'm looking at if I'm doing some type of day trading, because now the daily is my deciding factor on what's happening with this particular area. So if XLC, so we're in the communications, I'm going back to SMH, my bad. So I'm going back to SMH here, and I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, all right, if I'm looking at this throughout the day, we had a gap up that happened, and then they pushed down, they pushed up, and then they started to push back down. So if during the day I see this happen, where they broke above. I'm down here in the bottom right. So they break above that 247 in SMH. I need to start looking at calls for whatever is inside of SMH, which is the AMD, which is the, like I said, all of those semiconductors. Start looking for that. As I move down, I'm looking at the 4 hour. They pushed up in the morning, they broke. So you had that simultaneous break at 246.45. It's the same that would have been on the daily. So a simultaneous break. Boom, they open, they push up. That next 4 hour candle starts to drop. So let's take this off. And these are things that you want to be looking for, okay? So I'm looking here. If I'm looking at the daily and I want to see where is this 246.79. So now I know once I get above 246.79, there's money pouring into this stock or into this sector. So let me go look at those stocks. So now above 246 there. At the hourly at 9 o'clock, they started to push above that. What is this on the 30-minute? They started to push above it at 9 after on the 9:30 candle. Then they pushed up. And on the lower time frames, like the 5-minute, they pushed down and then pushed us up. On the 2-minute, same thing that started happening in the morning. They pushed us down, pushed us up. And then here at 9:52 is when we started to break above. So 9:52 is an excellent time potentially to take that particular play. Also, with those inside bars that we were talking about. So if I see an inside bar, I'm starting to look to the left and see, okay, what's happening over here? Then I look to the right. Okay, you're starting to take out this candle. I'm going to start looking at calls here. As they're approaching here, if they failed there, if I was in a call as soon as this broke and it failed here, I'm going to try to get out of that play as soon as possible. But for this one, it starts to move up. So now if I look at AMD, matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull AMD up here. And I'll just put that on 8. There we go. So AMD is right there. And we'll just look at these time frames and see what happened on Friday at 9:30. All right. So on Friday, let's take off these fibs because I don't need those right now. Just do it clear. All right, cool. So again, 9:30. I'm over here, but just watch the cursor over here. All right, so at 9:30 on that 5-minute chart, SMH is dropping. 9:34, they've dropped here. 9:35, still dropping for AMD. AMD inside bar, 2 up and a 2 down. Now on 9:40, the sector is starting to move back up. All right, sector is starting to move up. So if I'm looking at this and the sector is starting to move back up, I'm now looking for that entry that's going to make sense because boom, the next 5-minute candle is still pushing up. So I got a 2 up. So at 9:45, it's starting to push up. That next candle at 9:50 has now broken. So the entire sector of semiconductors is now pushing up. So now with that sector moving, I now need to start looking for calls because you have broken my level that I've set for the entry for those calls. They've broken it, boom, 9:52, they're starting to push up. So we're looking here at 9:50 candle is when that broke. All right, so at 9:50 is when that broke. So SMH, if I looked at the AMD calls, so let's just say AMD broke 9:50 and I want to get an at the money call. So let's see at 9:50, they pushed down, opened here, closed here at 9:50. Let's check this next candle, 9:52. We're close to 118. So I want to get a 118 call. So let's look at the 118 calls from Friday. Options 118. I'll just do 117 here. And we're just looking at that 118. So I'm gonna do the 118 because that was the next one up. So the 118 call at 9:50. So at 9:50, it is, let's mark that real quick. All right, so we're there. So it's 75 cents. All right, not bad. The entire sector is moving. The entire sector is moving, still pushing up. I don't have any candles that really going against me until here. That's at 10:30. So this one came up, but it did not do a 2 down. It pushed up. It did not do a 2 down. This one did a 3, which would have kind of got some people scared. It probably would have scared me out. Boom. But it came down and immediately went back up. So the next time that it actually started to push against us, got a 2 up and then it got a 2 down, and then it started to continue to push up. So I'm going to look at 10:30. What was the price at 10:30 for that AMD? So you look here at 10:30, they were starting to push. And then now at 10:40 was a spike on that next candle here, 10:35, 10:40 candles. That is a spike in the price for the AMD 118 call that we identified as soon as it started to break here at 950. So what does that give you? So I'm looking at 950. I'm looking at this area. Let's say we got in at 952. Got 952. That's a 98% return there. It's 114% return here. Okay. And this is, so you more than likely would have gotten that 1035, 1030, 1036 time frame. So you probably would have got in somewhere around there and maybe gotten out here, but still 75%. A lot of people are looking for 30%. They would have been done on the first candle, second candle. They would have been done on this candle. They're at the 50%. They're at the 80% there. They're at 100% there. You got 100% return in a 20-minute period. So just watch out, you know? So if we're looking at 950, and I'm saying, okay, it's breaking at 950, potentially getting in that play. It dips down a little bit more, pushes up. Then I got my 100%. I can be out of this. I don't need to sit and see what's going to happen. It dips down and it pushes up, gives you 114%, 150%. All right, cool. But then after that, it starts to fall. It starts to fall. And then we get right back underneath that for SMH at 1255, 1305. And then what happened to the option? If you stayed in this option past 11 o'clock, even though at 11 o'clock, it's still pushing up just a little bit, pushing up, pushing up. 11:10, you see at 11:02 was the last major push up. That did not compare to this. Let me bring this up because this is an important thing for people to understand too. At 10:30, the price spiked. 10:35, we're looking at this candle here and we're looking here. Now, what do we notice to the right of this circle? The price continued higher. But wait, what happened to the option? The price did not make a new high. We have a problem. And it's called, their problem is called, where are you? Let's get you back in here. That problem is called, oops, let me learn how to spell here. The problem is called theta. Okay? We have a problem and it's called theta. So theta came in here and said, look at this. You push down and then push back up. I'm taking some money from this play. Then it pushes back up, does not make a new high because the high is over here at 160. The high here is 155. So now you see theta at work. That pull back and then push up, no matter how it pushed up, it did not take out the high of that candle. 11:15 is your highest of the day at 11:15. Where is the, look at this, options price is down here. The high of the day is at 11:15. The option is back at break even. You have to understand what this is doing. You have to understand what Delta is doing, what Rho is doing, what Vega is doing, what Gamma is doing. You have to understand why these things are happening. So you cannot just be taking random plays at random times because times matter. Okay, so make sure that you understand that. And then after that, now SMH is falling back below. They didn't fall. Okay, SMH did not fall. Our 950 entry was back at 950 at 246. At 11:24, we are all close to high of day, but now you have fallen back to break even for the entry of this option. You have to understand Vega. You have to understand Gamma. You have to understand what theta is doing to these contracts. And then it just sat there, didn't do anything, had a spike in price sales, had a bunch of sales and volumes that was happening there, bunch of volume that's happening here. And then all of a sudden it falls. It starts to push down at 13.16. 13.16 is already down. It's already fallen. So you've already lost 99% of your uh, options value at as soon as we came down at, what was it, 11.16? You've already lost. You're at 70, your break even here at 11.26. That's close to high of day. Then it starts to push down. Now you're at 50% loss. You're still holding on to this. Now you're at 70%, 80%. Now you're at 100% loss. Okay. So you want to take care of these. What was this? What else is there? So now I want to look at the put. Now it starts to come back below that 246. Or you were looking up here and you saw this indecision candle and starts to push back down. So now if I wanted to 118, what is this? Let's go back to AMD. That high day was here. They started struggling. They gave you a nice little run up there, and then they started to fall back through. Then they gave you a nice little H. You need to go watch that video also. Did the same type of thing, but the options price was nowhere near. When we saw that, that options price was already dipping. Even though it went up, that options price was down. This options price is not even coming back to the same amount that it was worth over here because of theta. Watch yourself with theta and gamma and rho and vega. You have to know all of those. All right, let's move on. And then it dropped. And then it continued to drop, continue to drop, continue to drop, continue to drop. All right. Let's see what else we have. So that was just an example of watching when someone, calls out a play. Let's see what we're doing to see if it's going to be that temporary move or is it going to be a sustained move to the downside. So what else do we have? So let's look at who did good on, at the daily, had a 2 up. So let's look at XLK. All right, so XLK. Again, we're going to start with the higher time frame. Go on XLK. So these are like your Apples, your all your tech companies. All right, so I'm just looking overall. Watch out here. All right, so this is XLK. So looking at XLK, we got kind of the same thing that happened on with the SMH on Friday and all of that. Looking at that daily, they pushed up, they broke above. So you had your opportunity in the morning when they broke above this level here at 232 to start pushing up, pushing up. They got into the gap just a little bit, but then it rejected and came right back down. So let's go look. So we got XLK. All right, so on the daily, got a 2 up. On the 2-day, had a 2 up. On the weekly, a drop. On the monthly, same thing. I had a 2 up for this candle, 2 up. Then this one went up and then down. So it took out both sides of that candle. For the monthly, what do? We got a 2 up. It pushed up and then rejected. We're at the top of the range for the year. We're at all-time highs, top of the range, breached it, and then pulled us back down. So we're at the top of the range. So what are we thinking? We're thinking about potentially having puts. We're thinking about those things. Got to have that in your mind to make sure that you're thinking about that. Now, you do have the opportunity for calls, of course, but you're thinking about what is highly probable. So we got a 2 up year, 2 up quarter, 3 on the monthly, 2 down on the weekly. You could go either way. You have an opportunity that everything else is up, 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 up. This one for the week is down. This is a swing. You might not use it for today. So now let's look at the 1 hour, 1 minute. Here we go. So now I'm coming to our daytime, our day XLK. Where are we at? All right, XLK. So now I'm coming over here and looking at the time frames that I want to look at for potential play for the day. All right. So you got the 1 hour, got that 30 minute. Okay, so if I look at the day, same exact thing. So I'll start doing the same drill we just went through. So if I just come here and I'm like, okay, we break above 233, let's see what happens. I break above, let me make sure that's the right one. If we break above 233.21, cool. You start breaking above 233.21, I need to start looking for a play. All right, so if I'm looking at XLK, all right, let's see here what happened in the morning. They gapped up, pushed down, pushed up. They're getting close to that 233. Let me start looking for a play. They start pushing away, and the same exact thing again. We got that inside bar, and then we start seeing, okay, you push down, now you start breaking up. So let's look at a potential play in XLK. What's in XLK? I wonder. I wonder. Anybody know? All right. So if I want to look at XLK, I can just come to my fundamentals on an analyze tab, and I come in here and I see Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, AV goes. Now, if I have both the XLK and SMH going, I think I need to start looking at NVIDIA. I need to start looking at something that's going to run in the direction that I can potentially take a play. All right. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, do I want to play Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, AV Go, or Broadcom, whichever you want to call it, CRM, Oracle, Cisco, IBM, any of these? What do I want to play? So then I come in here and I pick Apple. So then I come over back to my chart and I say, all right, let's move over Apple into this one here. So let's put Apple here at number 8, change that up. I have Apple. Now with Apple, let's see what happened. Apple didn't follow its sector that morning. It dropped and dropped and dropped. So let's look at Apple from 934. It dropped here, 935, 935, 940. It just continued to drop. They started pushing back up, but Apple said, nope, we're going to fall. So Apple was not a good candidate for that. So let's bring up the sectors that I have here. XLK. So then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find something that's following this movement. All right, so I got XLK. So I'm going to come in here and look and see who's actually following the movement, because you obviously Apple didn't. We're going to come down to Microsoft, see what Microsoft did in the morning. Uh-oh, let me turn that back to XLK. XLK, and I'm going to change this to 8. So then I'm running through this whole thing of saying who is doing what they need to do. So if I go to Microsoft, what they do? They pulled down, pushed up. Pulled down, pushed up. Okay, Microsoft did what it was supposed to do. They pulled down, pushed up. AVGO did what it's supposed to do. ACN at 930. 930, they just pushed up. All right, cool. Intel. 930, pulled down, pushed up. CRM, Salesforce. 930, pulled down, pushed up. Qualcomm, 930, said, I'm gone. Pulled down, pushed up, and stayed going up for the rest of the day. They said, I'm not going to follow what's going on over there. 930, push straight up. So if I'm looking at this, they come down and reject the level that I'm worried about taking calls for. They push up above it, reject it. I need to start thinking about taking calls. Need to start thinking about taking calls. And this is before 11 o'clock because I just showed you what happened. So let's take, for instance, just for giggles. So we have ABGO. So of course we got ABGO here. So what did it do? It pulled, this is XLK here on the left. We pulled down, hit that level that we identified here on the daily to start looking for calls as they push up. They push down, push down, push down into that. What did it do? It pushed down, and the next thing you know, it started running at the same time. So we got inside bar at 940. Let's start looking at that. Then the next bar here tapped again at 945. So anything in between 940 and 945, let's look at what the option did. And the price is at 218, 219. What do we have? 216 here. So let's look and see what we have. So we probably want to see that 215 or 220 calls, and we want to be in the money as quickly as possible. So I'm going to look at those 220 calls from this past week so we can see what it did. And remember, we're looking for between 940 and 945. Let's see what we got. So we're gonna come in here to options. We'll go AVGO. Make sure we change it to this past week. So we were talking about 220. So let's go. Oh, we might have actually, we could probably see if we can do this 217 here. Let's get back out here. Yeah, so 217. Oh, perfect. At 217.50 or 217 if they have it. So let's look here. So between here 942, but they didn't get above 17 until 944. So let's look at the 217 if they give it to us. So I'm gonna go options and I'm gonna go ABGO. Let's see if we got the 217 and a half. Let me move these out just a little bit, see if we got a 217. They got a 215. Let's do the 217 and a half. This is for next week. So let me change this here. 0131. All right. What did they have them here? Look at that move right there. They did the exact same movement. Again, this is why I say we don't care about making a bunch of drawings on the screen. We care about what is the option chart going to do and where should we be looking for taking profits. So they pushed up, came down, 935, 940 time frame, the lowest in that time. And at 942 to 945, it's 145. So we're looking at 145 as that potential. So anything between this 145 and this over here, 170. And then what did that do? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. So even at looking up, pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, high of the sector was at 11 o'clock. So then let's zoom out a little bit. So high of the sector was here at 11 o'clock. AVGO started to pull back, and then its high is over here at 1232. So that high happened on that second push-up. Remember before, we had that second push-up where it didn't make it as high? But with AVGO, let's go back real quick. Let me copy this. So we pushed up. They made their first high around at 11 o'clock. They pushed down, made another high at 1130. They came down again and then made their actual high at 1232. They kept pushing up, pushing down, kept pushing up. So then you had that opportunity to take that there. So let's go back over here. So looking at your potential entry, you had a potential entry around this 140, between 140 and 170, between 140 and 180. All right, so we got 140 and 180. And then the high of this move got you a potential of, move this in a little bit so you can see it. So the high of it got you a 500% move. Absolutely crazy. In 2 hours and 54 minutes. If you were like normal folks, you probably would have took it right here. That's still 486%. Okay. And that's following what the sector is doing. I don't care about anything else. I want to know what the sector is doing and what are the candles doing and which one is following this the closest. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about trend lines. I mean, I care about them, but I don't care about anything. I don't care what MACD is doing. I don't care what anything else. The sector is the most important thing that you need to be watching. Keep that in mind. 145 up to 924. So I don't know who else needs to hear this, but we are going to do a little bitty series, a mini series on these type of plays right here so that you get this through your head to understand that we focus on the sectors, especially if we're doing any individual stocks. I want you to go back, practice these ones, twos, and threes. Remember that inside bar, the two up, 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 there's a two down, two down, two down. The outside bars for the threes. I want you to go practice that so that you understand what I mean when I say, hey, we had a 2, 1, 1, 2. And you can visualize that in your mind and say, okay, I had a two down, inside bar, two up. And then you visualize that without being able to see it on a chart, and you know exactly what's going on. And then all of a sudden I'm saying, okay, I got a 1, 2, 3, and you're like, oh, he had an inside bar, then he had a 2, then he had a 3. Okay, they went outside, then they went 2 up. You want to get that knowledge and that the vernacular down so you understand what I mean when I say these numbers. All right, I think that's enough. Yeah, I think that's enough. Let's get on this series. If you want to learn, this is what it's here for. so that we can get this down pat. Because I don't want to see anybody just blindly following trades, especially if you want to learn. If you don't want to learn, follow the trades, do your thing. But if you want to learn to find the plays and to bring more plays to the group, this is what you need. Forget about all the other stuff. Just this is what you need. You have trend, you have Fibonacci retracements, you have all your indicators, you can have whatever you want on the chart. My fibs will also be combined with this to find my actual targets. That's what I love about the fibs, because I'll find the targets and get you the actual targets that we need for these options plays, for the futures plays on the stock itself. That's what I love about the fibs. So if you want to learn that, hit me up and we'll go from there. All right, I am done. I will talk to y'all later.